Well, at least it told us that. So, all right, high level.
With Brent's involvement, I definitely think we have a lot more options and a lot more different things that we can do for July and all future events here.
Sure.
Uh,
I guess the initial thing that I was thinking is that this was going to be like a low key thing
uh,
that you were going to host, and then you were talking about doing it at the record store, and I sort of went with it because like the area and stuff, but like I don't know if we're ready for an event next
okay.
year. Like I just want to get people together in a room and figure it out. Like like there's two of us. Like these
Yeah.
online meetings, they work when they work, but they don't always work. And I mean, they're definitely better than nothing. But I think to really like start things off well and get everybody on the same page, we need to like get together. And the reason that one of the main reasons I wanted to do that in Jackson was because I think having an event like whether it ends up being 2026 or 2027 doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Um, but having an event there, I think makes a lot of sense because you do have resources and things. But
Yeah.
I'm afraid that budget wise, like we're not where we need to be for next year. I mean, we don't have any sort of like fundraising set up yet. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what the bands want and need as far as payment. I don't know what you've talked
Yeah.
about, but I kind of feel like we're
So,
a little short on time on getting all that figured out.
all right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, and that was one of the things why I wanted to have this meeting today is because, like we're kind of at a spot where I don't think we have anything booked yet, right?
No. No.
So, I mean, yeah, we need to figure out before we start booking stuff, like if we're headed in the right direction. Um, so Sam, you didn't miss much. We were just
Well,
sort of talking.
actually, I'm a little confused because Jason and I have been on the Google Meets, but you're not there.
Yeah, we've never used Google Meet. It's always meet.jit.si.ccmusic.
Yeah, they're on Jitsi. Um, yeah.
Yeah. But hey, Sam, I'm Rhino. I don't think we've actually met yet.
Greetings. So you're in Mississippi?
Yep. I'm here in Mississippi. I've been here for way too long. But one thing about Mississippi that's really great, it's cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, so, I mean, where are you located at?
I'm in Western Massachusetts.
Okay. All right. It's cheap but hot here, is what I'll tell you. We'll give it another chance and stuff. So, and Doug,
Yeah.
here's what I can say is after getting a chance to talk to Brent this weekend, he has some low cost, no cost options for
Okay.
venues that are around here. It's not going to be like dueling where it's like the premiere, but like
Yeah, yeah. Well,
we
like
had
I
like
mean, so if we, I mean, I guess low cost. What is low cost?
um $100, $200.
Okay, well yeah.
Yeah. Hello again, Jason.
Eh,
But so, and he's actually working for a local coffee shop here now that is actually getting a new location that's actually going to have room for venues and events and stuff like that. And they're actually going to want to have regular stuff coming in. The show we ended up doing on, okay, he said he's not going to be able to make it, so I'll
Okay.
follow up with him.
Cool.
But the show we ended up having on Friday night, we actually went out and had the show Friday night. It was at the Sunflower Oak Oven, which is this local bakery, which just smelled delicious the whole time. But they had the bakery, and the people were over there actually baking, making fresh baked goods over on one side, and there was just a whole open area where we had set up couches and chairs where we had like an acoustic three people play acoustic sets. And like something like that is something that we could probably get for free and no cost and just set up and go and do it from there. They're set up to take um, door charges as people come in if we're running something that has that, or if it's just us sitting in a room, it's something that we can sit there and stream from that room, have
Okay.
music going in the background.
Yeah.
And with it being a bakery, that also means there would be like food options and stuff like that. But talking with Brent, there seems to be a lot of options, and if his help, and I think we can really kind of line some stuff up. He is really tied into the local music scene. He's a band photographer, so like every Friday, Saturday night, he's out taking photos at all the different venues. He knows all the different bands, and so if we're not able to get like people to fly in from out of state for music and stuff, we can always find some local people that would be willing to play.
Sure.
Um, but it sounds like there's two different thoughts for next year. The one would be the net label day, which would be the one in July, to where that may be good to just kind of keep it simple and just do something like that. I am planning on hopefully having a big 1111 next year, to where that might be, as we're talking with different artists about coming in. Like I know I'm really wanting Josh and Lewis Ling and the Bombs to
Okay.
come to the US. It may be smarter to, if we're wanting to keep that low key, have them come later in
Well,
the year.
I mean, I don't know that it needs to be low key, but I'm just saying, like, timeline wise, like Josh is saying, they need to have things booked 6 months, and
Mhm.
like, I don't know how many bands that you were thinking, but like if we're thinking about getting basically all the bands booked within 6 months, that means everything's got to be done by January. And then sort of the thing is like we're going to have a lot of musicians on so we have like a lot of backup. I
Mhm.
guess is what I'm saying. I mean, one thing that might be interesting to think about if we had a space where this made sense is we could like not even like necessarily like have the stage and stuff, but not even like have things booked, but like if people wanted to like in the evening like do something impromptu, you know I think it'd just be kind of like a party sort of thing, and like just like people could jam and do whatever, you know
Mhm.
um but I don't know. I mean, the thing about the bakery, how many people are we talking in that place?
Li- Like in there, it would probably fit 30 to 50 people.
Okay.
So, but like I said, if I'm going to have Brent involved helping, there's a lot of different options. Like
Right.
having him kind of be the man on the street to actually get things aligned up and kind of set. He's got the connections here. He's got the ability. He's good at that stuff where I suck at that stuff. I've realized it's not in life. It's not always about being good at everything. It's about having other people who are good at
Yeah.
things.
So what's his rate or cost, or what's he thinking?
He hasn't gave me exact on it,
Okay.
to where there's going to be a lot of different events that me and him are going to try to plan through the year where he's just helping me out. But with like this being a bigger one, it may be something that we work out costs with him on that.
S-
Um, And it's
So
also, if we're having him do all the photos, that does jump it up. He is a great photographer.
so here's something we could think about. Um, Instead of like, so you're talking about, talking about the bands for 11/11. Um, we could, well, we have a couple of options. One, we could just do it then. Like, I
Mhm.
don't know what day of the week is 11/11 on.
Well, next year I just looked, it's on a Tuesday.
Okay.
So we would probably either bump it back to the weekend before or the weekend after. Because this is Jackson, Mississippi. Events
Yeah.
don't happen on Monday and Tuesday night.
Well, if you bump it the weekend after, you're probably going to start running into, well, although I guess Thanksgiving is on the not till the
Yeah.
27th. So, yeah, that'd probably still be okay.
Yeah.
Um so so one option would be to just do everything uh the end of 2025. Don't
Yeah.
know that I really like that option, but it is an option. The other option, I'm thinking we could do is we could just do the get together in Minneapolis. Like, we got space upstairs. I was actually planning on doing that, having something here anyway, this year, and then I didn't have time to plan it. But then that would let you and Brent focus on 11/11, and you know, I still think doing something Net Label Week there 2026 might be on the table. I don't know how much we need to be on the ground if you're going to have Brent help with stuff. I mean, part of my reason for wanting to get down to Mississippi was so that we could look at things and figure out as a group what we want to do. But if we're just going to outsource that,
Yeah.
then maybe we just don't need to do that. So, uh, Sam, Jason, uh, what are you guys thinking?
Yeah. And I'm just sharing some of the photos we got from Brent from one of the events just to show you. Dude's awesome photographer.
Yeah, yeah.
Sam, Jason,
Yeah, those
Doc.
are some nice pictures.
Um,
Uh,
Sam, please go ahead. I'll follow up.
Um, I don't know what to say. I guess just I don't know, like um, so how many like CC artists would show up to one of these events and like perform? Would it just be a few bands or I don't know?
Well, so I think that's, I mean, one of the things we gotta plan. So, I mean, if we did dueling in 2026, we would have it for all day. Like, we're talking festival, right?
Mhm.
Rhino, that's what we're
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah. So, but next year will be whatever we end up doing next year will be smaller scale than that. Um, so ultimately, sort of the idea is to do like what I wasn't there. So Rhino, correct me if I'm wrong. But basically to do what the Cologne Commons was, but it's gonna be the Jackson Commons.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the same ring, but Jackson Jam,
Yeah.
the Jackson CC Jackson Jam. There we go.
Yeah. Well, something. We'll work on it.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's just so get a venue, get as many bands as we can to come in. Try to get a couple local bands. Um, I did use some stuff, and I do want to follow up on this later. But like, if we get local bands, because one of the nice things is the local bands bring people out. If
yeah,
you want people to show up, they'll bring people out, and talk to them in advance and actually get a release to where we say, all right, well, we know you're local, we know you're not always Creative Commons, but as part of this event and stuff, we're wanting you here. but we want to release this recording under a Creative Commons. Do the old WFMU model that they always had, where the bands came in and they were regular copyrighted bands, but that performance and that set was released as that. It's
And
where
I didn't look at I saw that you sent a notice. Were you planning on using BYNC for that?
well, I was going to give them the actual choice to pick what they want to have, because I think that's going to be kind of one of the better ways to do it.
I think keeping it simple is better, but we can have, that's not a conversation we need to have right now. I was just curious.
Yeah.
We can go back to that.
And I'm going to tell you, I almost feel a little dirty when I say this, but I used AI to kind of create this, and so like that was a first pass. I used Gemini.
Yeah.
That's the first pass at a release form for a CC Music live set CC Music thing. I mean, it's pretty straightforward still to it, but basically give them a chance to pick which one they want for theirs. Because we might be able to talk some into going by. Some of them might be like,
Yeah.
hey, make it as restrictive as possible.
I mean,
And that,
if you think you have the time to like explain things to people, then that's fine. But I think a lot of people might not quite understand.
well,
It might.
that's one of the other things I'm thinking about is because if we're doing outreach to musicians and to different people and stuff, one of the things that we do need to have is handouts that we can sit there as we're trying to
Yeah.
tell an artist about
Sure.
Creative Commons. This is it. But like for this, on the venue we had last night, we told on Friday night, he was all on board. Like Zach, the guy who finished out the set. I was like, hey, I'd want to do it. And he's like, well, get me the information. I'll look it over and see. And it's going to be something that we can give them on the front end to kind of explain. Once the recording's set, we can like get them to actually finally fill out the form or sign it after the fact. But it's something that we can do. And like talking with Brent this weekend and knowing what I have, I've got probably like 7 or 8 recordings from different bands that are non-CC bands that when we set up and we did the recording and everything, we told them like, hey, we're wanting to do it for this Creative Commons, that I know we can go back and talk to them and get them to sign the release for what we've already got.
Yeah.
To where we
I
got a lot of stuff that's already available to be released.
I think maybe it would be all right if you just take off attribution. Nobody that's not already doing CC is going to want just attribution. If they think they do, they're wrong.
Yeah.
So I maybe just take that one off. And then if people like what they get with like the, Creative Commons in general, then sure. Like, but like, people are potentially going to be making all sorts of remixes they do. It's all available commercially. Like, I don't think that's a place for people to start.
Yeah. Well, and it's also going to depend on how good of a job we do on recording. To where if we're getting a crappy recording, it's not going to be something that's really commercially there.
Well, that's fair enough. But I mean, yeah, that all just depend on the venue and the soundboard and you know,
And who we got kind of doing it.
right. So the like so I guess as far as if we wanted to do the bakery,
Yeah.
like we need a hard number, like to make sure we didn't overdo the invite situation.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I found out from him when we were talking, like I said, the coffee shop and the people, and I met the owner of the place.
Yeah.
They're actually getting this venue. They closed down and they're actually taking over this space for the coffee
Yeah.
shop. And I know the owner of that coffee shop. And one of the things they want to do is actually have it be a live music venue.
Yeah.
Along with doing their coffee and like bringing different bakeries in and stuff like that, to where I think the opportunities for venues has gone through the roof from where I thought we were.
Okay. But still, I guess what I'm saying is like these places have fire code limits. Like we have to know
Yeah.
like an exact number.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But again, it's going to be, how many people do we think we have interested in traveling to Jackson at this point in time?
I don't know. We haven't started. We've done very little inviting because that we got to figure out like the band situation, like
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff if we're gonna actually like do bands.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is like there's a fair amount of people that like could perform that wouldn't necessarily like like Omar and Mike. I don't think most people like think of them as performers, but theoretically they could be. So, we have like a lot of backup situation. But again, like the budget is like gonna be
Yeah.
a concern. There's like Andrew he's local, right?
Andrew Bryant. Yeah.
So like I mean, as far as like cost, it's like basically nothing for him. So I mean, it just kind of I mean, as far as how many people we can get, I don't know. Like again, I think we'll it just depends on how we sell it.
So
And
for the event, so if we're talking just July and trying to do it, like you said, trying to keep it
yeah,
more low key, it could be something that we sit there and say, hey, we just want to have kind of a conference during the day, that we're going to have everybody come in and we want to get people in the same room to kind of talk through the different options of what we're doing, what we're trying to do as a group, what we're trying to do as outreach, what we're trying to do for streaming and all that, and kind of do that and have like a 4 or 5 hour block of time that's just for that. Then just
yeah,
have like 2 or 3 bands scheduled for that night.
yeah,
And that way it's kind of like we go to work all day, then we get to the night and we have some fun.
yeah. So I think that sounds reasonable, but again, like what are we thinking budget wise?
So it's going to depend on each of the bands that we're getting. So, and it also depends if we're getting local or we're getting people coming in. Like, it's really going to vary because, like, budget, if we're
Well,
getting Lewis Ling and the Bombs to fly in from Paris, that's going to be a lot more budget for them. But,
right.
like, John, if we're getting John to come down from Nashville, like 500 for 1,000 for him
Yeah.
would cover it. Like, if we're talking Conan Neutron and trying to get him coming down from Milwaukee, that might be enough to cover it for him. So it's going to kind of depend on the bands, but
So
I'll throw out a number of 500 to 1,000 per artist.
okay. So if we're gonna 3 artists, we'll just say 1,000, and then Brent, you were I don't think you had a number for him, right?
If
But
if I'm gonna, and here's the thing, if I'm bringing him in as like a resource, I'm probably going to say 1,000 to 1,500 for him.
okay.
And that's going to include photographer for the whole thing. He's going to actually work with local
And
artists
you're
to get his album arts. He's actually going to be doing
okay.
our
So are
local
you talking
advertising.
about for next year? Because I don't think we should be doing local artists next year. The
Well,
idea is
no,
that everybody in that room is we got
I
to
meant,
decide if we're doing this in 2025. So
well, what
let's
I'm
focus
saying,
on that.
when I say local artists, I mean for artwork for the event, to where if we're going to sit there
Oh,
and
okay.
promote the event and stuff
Sure.
like that,
Okay.
we want to have that.
Well, but
And,
but Rhino, this is not an event anybody is coming to. This
well, we
is
were,
a CC, like we're inviting the people
so,
in that room are talking to each other. This is our event. No one else is coming. If you're not
yeah.
on the invite list, you're not in.
Well, what we were just saying about having music that night.
Okay. I was thinking that the people from the day would already be in there, but I guess we could do it that way.
To where that way we, like I said, we have the actual talk and us working together and us kind of discussing and walking through everything as kind of like the day event,
Yeah.
and then have music as kind of the after party
I
as
guess
like,
So I see what you're saying, and it's not a terrible idea. Maybe it's the best idea, but what I was thinking is that if we bring the musicians, the CC musicians there to perform, then they can also contribute during the day.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think ideally we're not having local. I mean, if there are local CC guys like Andrew, then that's
Yeah.
maybe the best of both worlds. But I think having people that are already invested in some fashion in CC, that's
Yeah.
ideal. If we can book 3 of those, and then they're
Yeah.
there during the day to help talk about what it is to be a CC musician, I think that's our ideal use case.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh,
So that's kind of so for July, and we're still kind of finalizing it, and we got to make decisions over the next 3 months. But if we're doing July would be kind of 4 or 5 hour block during the day where everybody who's directly involved with CC is in a room and kind of having a conference, just talking about the different things we can do, what we're trying to achieve, what's the best paths for supporting artists and supporting people who are doing this. And then later that night, just to have a party, and we opened it up to bring other people in to kind of get excited.
so I have 3,000 down for artists. I have 1,500 for Brent. Do we have any idea on venue costs?
That is going to depend. All right, come on,
Let's
cat.
let's
Sorry.
say so. Before you were talking the record store. Did that just not seem like a good venue, or
Well, the record store is still a possibility,
okay?
but what I'm saying is with us getting Brent involved and his knowledge of local people and places and just his connections, there may be better options for
Okay.
us. That if we're getting him involved and he's sitting there sorting out the venue, there's a good chance he might have a place that we can do this for free. There may be a place that he's like, oh, we're going to only have to pay this much.
Okay.
Uh,
How likely do you think it is that we'll get a place for free? I mean, I know you're not Brent, but like, does that seem super likely, or?
um, I think it's a lot more possible than I want to give it credit for.
Okay, here's another thing. If we get because we're still on question 1, but if we go to a free place, are they going to have sufficient Wi-Fi such that people that aren't going to be able to be there, that we can do something? I don't know what something is going to look at like, but we can talk about that as part of question 2. But let's just say we want to do a video conference with another place. Are we going to have sufficient Wi-Fi at a free location for that to happen?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say I feel very confident
So
in that.
you're optimistic about the free locations.
Yeah, like
Okay.
last Friday night with the coffee shop had great Wi-Fi to actually sit there and do all the streaming and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then I'll be honest with cell phones, just using as hotspots. If we had to come in a couple hotspots, that could help us through too.
Sure.
Um, I will say, depending on where the location is, there would possibly be a cost for security. And other costs that we'd have to be looking at is catering and food.
Yeah.
If we want to get barbecue gets expensive. But if you're coming to Mississippi, you kind of want barbecue.
Yeah, I definitely don't want barbecue, but
What? Crazy talk.
well, I don't eat animal carcass, but
Oh, okay. Well, I understand.
but yeah, catering is It's some amount of money. The
Yeah.
venue might. I mean, that's going to depend a lot on the venue.
Yeah. Yeah, that will actually depend a lot on the venue.
Yeah.
Like I said, if we're working with the coffee place, they have two different places that they're looking at having. One's kind of like an old warehouse that might be a little rougher, but the new spot that they're looking at, that would be a lot nicer. But they actually have a direct partnership with the bakery, so we know there would definitely be fresh bread. And I gotta tell you, it was great sitting there listening to the music and having the smell of fresh bread just hanging in the venue was great. And you could actually see the bakers over there jamming out, dancing to the music as they were cooking all night. So yeah,
So,
well, go ahead.
well, I just say, I think like budget wise, personally, I'm not convinced we're going to be ready for that
Yeah.
in July. Just looking at the numbers you're putting out. What do you guys think?
I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing to push it back. If we're thinking if we're thinking about pushing it back a year due to fiscal
Yeah.
responsibilities and concerns, not the worst idea in the world, particularly if 2026 is the 25th anniversary of Creative Commons.
Well, so yeah, that's okay.
That's a
So
good little
this
thought.
is an interesting question because again, we're back to the whole do we want dueling in 2026 question. Which is a separate question. But yeah, the whole 2025 thing. I think I feel pretty comfortable that we don't need to go to Jackson. I know. So renting upstairs for me is 75. I don't know if the reservation that I put in before, if I'm gonna have to do it again or not. But regardless, it's just $75. That venue, I believe, holds 50. Let me see. Surely I didn't delete that email.
What? I never delete emails. They just stay there forever.
I ended up buying like the cheapest backup thing on Google. I didn't do it for a long time because I didn't want to give Google money, but I was just like whatever. And we have like a family thing with my wife, so I was just like she was doing the same thing. I was just like whatever. This is a waste of time. I'm just gonna buy the space and then share it. Okay. So this is what I'm thinking. Oh, you have an orange kitty too. Or maybe is it a black kitty or an orange kitty?
Orange
hard to
kitty.
tell in the light. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw Odie. He was in my lap, but
Yeah, I saw the tail whipping you in the face.
So I'm thinking we could still do something that weekend, or we could do it some other weekend. I feel like that's a good weekend, but we could do it in Minneapolis. We can use the same guest list. I mean, we'll have to go back to people that have said yes and say, hey, we're changing things up. There's not space for any like live music or anything. I mean, I think like if somebody had an acoustic guitar, that'd probably be okay. But yeah, there's no amps or anything. And so there's a balcony, which is shared space, but that might be the best place if somebody wanted to play their acoustic guitar for a little while. But that might be our best option for next year, just to get together. And then, so I think I don't know why it says Dave Cat's there. All right, so we're still sort of on question one. Sam, what do you, I think we're kind of moving towards not doing something next year in Jackson, or not in July. There's still the 11/11 stuff that Rhino's going to do, but that's sort of his own thing, and whether we tag onto that or not maybe is a separate question. I feel like that's late in the year.
Yeah. Well,
it's a long time to like wait to like get things going. That's kind of where I'm at with that. But
yeah. Well, and I will say the weather in November is much nicer here than it is in July.
yeah,
If you're here in July, you just have to be prepared for like 110 heat index.
yeah.
So in November, it's actually manageable.
It could be like that here in July too, but
Yeah, I used to live in the deep south. I know what July feels like.
it's not as likely here. But we
Um,
did have a heat index of 106.
but yeah, I think I'm mostly just curious about the possibility of like a live streamed format for like the people that are interested, but they can't travel to Jackson. Like, what could you show if you like live streamed the event
Yeah,
or
I
something?
think so. I mean, one of the things that we're gonna have to figure out how to do, and this is, you know, not. It'll depend on how many people we get if we do it in Minneapolis. But one of the things that I'd like to do is have some breakout sessions. Like get the podcasters, you know, thinking about like how they want to organize themselves, get the musicians together, think about how they want to organize themselves. Um, you know, so like you have different conversations going on at the same time. And so that might be difficult to sort of figure out how to do that streaming. But I think most anywhere we're going to be able to like set up a microphone and a camera in like a big room. So that would be,
Yeah.
And then like as far as any of the concert stuff, I know Rhino has experience with that. So I think that's probably a pretty important
Yeah.
piece of venue scouting as far as that's concerned.
And I do think it, like with the technology the way it is anymore, it's pretty simple to just have people with different Twitch streams kind of hosting each of the different breakouts. Like
Yeah,
we
but
want,
then like people that are remote have to like, figure that out as well. So, I mean, so we could plan that all in
yeah,
advance, with whoever like, if there is like a another group that's like meeting. And I don't know how many of those there might end up being, but we could go ahead and have, like, different Jitsi channels set up for like um for each group, like CC Music dash musicians, CC Music dash podcasters. And then just like when we have breakout sessions, people can go into those different sessions. So that's, yeah, we'll figure out something. So, but yeah, I think that was maybe more of a topic 2 question, Sam. Any I mean, the real question about one is, do we think that we should be doing do we need to go to Jackson next year in order to prep for a big event in 2026? And do we think we can actually pull that off? And that's the question. I think most people are sort of leaning towards like no on both fronts, but I don't know that you've really said much, Sam. So, and then unless you have, really think we need to do something, then we can move on.
I'm not sure, honestly.
Fair enough. Well,
I don't know.
ultimately, that's probably where a lot of us are, is we're not sure.
Yeah.
But I think today is sort of like my thought was like we're kind of getting to the point where we need to start booking stuff, and we need to sort of like really get serious. And so now's the time to pull the plug if we're going to. Okay, decided. We're gonna do something. The Minneapolis stuff. I can figure most of that out myself. I might still want some help with the guest list, and we can talk about that at the end. So topic 2. Let's assume. Well, I guess we pretty much decided we're going to do something in Minneapolis. We'll do it all the same dates, same like. I don't even think I put Mississippi. So the 2025 Friends of CC Music guest list, that will now be, I'll put Minneapolis on here, and then that way it'll be clear to people that we've sort of changed that. And then we can go back and talk to everybody that we've talked. I mean, there haven't been a lot of yeses, there have been a lot of maybes.
Well, and I'm just going to ask one question. So if you're doing in Minneapolis, are you not wanting to have any bands? You're just going to want to have just like the kind of talking portion, and that would be it.
Yeah. So one thing we could do is if you wanted to do something, Rhino, like with like, you've already been talking to Josh and them, like if you wanted to put a show together to stream and just do it like, don't worry about like guest lists or the talking or anything. Just do the shows the way you do the shows. Then like we could like tune into that at the end of Saturday or something like that. That might be something. I mean, because it will still be Net Label Week, know. So, and that'll be the first day of Net Label Week. So, I'd like for you to be here, but if you wanted to do a show, that would make sense as well. So
I just think if we're getting together, it'd be nice to have a party at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean,
I like the party. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, we can get, alcohol. I don't drink alcohol, but I know it's a thing people do. So that would be something that we could definitely do. How many hours on the I think quiet hours start at 10. I think there's a possibility we could do something like go to a Twins game after the. I mean, there's tons of shit to do. I mean, like, yeah. There's block parties sometimes. I don't know, what's scheduled for next year, but we'll find something to do. There's a strip club down the street, like deja vu. I've never been there. First time for everything, right?
Yeah.
I
am going to go back to this and share a screen again for a second.
Okay.
I was going to say, this is actually the coffee shop, the North Shore coffee shop. That's actually Brent there in the center, the guy I work with here. But that's their actually announcement about that cultivation hall that I was showing you. Like, if they get that location, I will tell you there will be a lot of things happening at that location in the next couple of years. Just because, all right, I talk about Jackson, and there's a lot of spots in Jackson that you have to hire security to where, like, you have to throw an extra $500 to have like hire a sheriff's deputy to be on site for the night. This is one of those neighborhoods in Jackson that you don't need extra security. It's one of the safe areas. I know I'm talking bad about Jackson, but Jackson has like one of the highest murder rates in the country. You got to know where not to go in Jackson. It's yes, if you want to see poverty, you can go touring. I had somebody like, oh, just take me on a tour of the ghetto of Jackson, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not. Like the first week I was in Jackson and I just moved here, like somebody found a severed head on their front porch, and they found the body a couple streets over that had been shot several times and burnt afterwards. And the police are like, yeah, we think somebody was trying to send a message. I'm like, no shit. That's a hell of a message. So, but this place, when they get that, and I've know him, I've know these people that would actually definitely be a spot that they're going to be on board for free, and they want me to bring artists in. It was very interesting. Brent being so involved with them, I got to meet the main owner, and he's like, "Yeah, Brent's told me all about the stuff that you've been doing with the music and bringing people in." He's like, "We want to replicate that model and try to really work on supporting the artists that we have come in." So, but it'll be nice coffee. I actually got some of their even flow. I'm going to try it later. Dog, do you drink caffeine?
I probably shouldn't be right now, but that's what I've got in here right now.
Yeah.
I have prescription stimulants as well, so
Okay.
I'm well versed in the stimulants.
So, but yeah, I had to buy some even flow from them because, well, got your even flow, your red light butterfly.
Where's my list of questions? Okay, so not doing something in July in Jackson next year. So we still have the issue of whether or not we want to have get-togethers in other locations. And then, like, if you guys wanted to have a get-together in the northeast, then we could still do the same thing where go there, and then I mean one way we could do this is we have like a lot of discussions during the day, and then towards the end of the day maybe we do like a sort of a sync up and try to like these are things we talked about, and probably a lot of the things will be similar. That might be one way to do it, rather than like trying to have like lots of different conversations with like lots of people in the same different room. I don't know. The other thing I guess is that like I don't know if it's any cheaper, but I think that Minneapolis is probably an easier place to get to. I mean, it's a bigger airport. We have a train station. So I know, Jason, you were on the fence. I don't know if that was financial or, but if we're switching up to Minneapolis, what's your thought?
Basically, just about saving up for a thing. Saving up for a thing and finding out, what are the cheap flights, when to score them, and if points can be put towards a thing, then let's go. But yeah, so it's really just a matter of that, living where we all live. It all comes down to the money. So really, it's just about putting aside for a thing that could probably be a hell of a lot of fun, and seeing if we can, do some things without breaking the bank. As
Yeah.
far now, just to pivot for a moment in regards to a Northeast option, you know, Sam and I were both kind of reluctant in terms of, you know, whether that would be, you know, whether that's NYC, whether that's Massachusetts, what that even looks like in terms of a venue. I took a look at the breakout portion within that
Yeah.
spreadsheet as far
Here,
as Northeast
let me
artists.
share this so
Yeah,
everybody knows
yeah.
what we're talking about here.
So there was a breakout portion within that spreadsheet that showed Northeast artists. If
Yeah.
anything, I would want to try and get some intel from them, because as far as me being out in various venues, bars, clubs, I haven't done that in like 20 years.
Sure.
So I would need to definitely get some intel from these folks. Number one, to see if any of them are up for a get together on the Northeast side in all things, you know, in all things Creative Commons music support, and to see what, in terms of venues, some of those artists would be feeling. You know, where have they played within New York, Massachusetts, or in between? What do they think that, which venues do they think would be supportive and or conducive for
Well,
this sort of a gathering, and if it's possible?
yeah. So I guess I think we're sort of veering back into the 2026 discussion, which is because actually, yeah, if we're going to Jackson in 2026, then we need to have that discussion again. But I'm thinking right now, I'm just thinking about like sort of the like get in a room and talk. So I don't know what we want to talk. I've been in my head thinking about it as like the constitutional convention. Like, you know, we want to get all the important people in the CC community together and like figure this out. Like, you know, we can have these meetings like this and talk about things, but like, you know, time zone wise, it's hard sometimes for people to get on. Then like Jason's internet cuts out like 2 or 3 times a call, it seems like. So and then it's like, you know, so like William had to go help his dad with something today, and like that stuff is all like, you know, stuff that needs to happen, but like I feel like we need to get like together in a space where like we're not dealing with all that, you know. I'm, you know, and obviously like there's gonna not, you know, it's not gonna be like everybody can do it for whatever reasons. You know, like especially people overseas, like, you know, timing wise for international flights and stuff. I think we're still fine right now as far as that's concerned, but you know, I'd like to get, you know, if we could get more people to do things regionally, then that's great. But I'm just going to sort of pick that thread up as it comes up. But the Northeast thread did come up, so that's why that I'm, you know, because so that's why we're sort of talking about that one specifically. And there are a lot of people doing CC there already. So so yeah, I mean, I don't know. As far as venue, like, I mean, what would be great is if we knew somebody at like a college, because colleges have like conference rooms and stuff. But I don't. So, or I don't know anybody that would be interested. I mean, like maybe somebody would do it at UNH. If Ellen, I think's retired. If Ellen was still there, she'd probably support something. But yeah, I'm trying to think who else, if there's anybody else that might.
I
don't
see
know
that there's a
exactly
lot
where.
of
Go ahead.
block sonic representation on the northeastern section.
Well, I mean, that's where Mike started it all, is in
Yep.
Maine. So,
I
yeah,
recognize a lot of those names.
yeah. So, and then I don't have him on the list, but Alex Franklin might end up being able to come to something too. I mean, like, this is not a list of like, because obviously it depends on like if you guys did do something in the Northeast, like what it was going to be like. I mean, maybe you guys could talk to Mike about like hosting it at his house or something. Like, I don't know. It doesn't need to be like a big fancy thing. Like, I had proposed doing a Block Sonic get together when we do our thing in Vancouver. So hopefully I can get some of the Vancouver guys out to Minneapolis. But yeah, I mean, if you guys just want to like check out the stream all individually, then like that's fine. I mean, I think ideally people would get together, but and like if you guys have questions, then that's fine. I mean, I guess the question ultimately is like, do you want to try or not? Because like, if you just don't want to do it, then I won't worry about it, and I'll just go through the invite list. That makes sense.
I'll go ahead and say it seems unlikely that I could go to an event, but I also I think I just need some confirmation, and if a bunch of like bands are actually interested in a Northeastern event.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like I'm not gonna plan it. So like, if like if you want to ask and see if there's interest, then I'll hold off on inviting people. But if you guys don't want to put it together, then I'll just I'll send you the link when like this is where we're gonna talk, and that'll be that. It's not a big deal. I didn't want, if you guys wanted to do it, I didn't want to take people away from you. that's my concern, So
If we're into brand building, it's probably best that things be centralized. So I would suggest to you, Doug, to be about the list that you made in
Okay.
terms of seeing how many people, how many artists would in fact be interested in convening towards Minneapolis, since that's the move
Yeah.
at the moment.
Cool. I'm gonna go back to my list of questions. All right. I'm trying to think if things have gotten significantly simpler. I think probably it makes sense for me to just handle this as far as question 3, which was dividing it up. So, Rhino, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I have 2 questions for you, actually. First question: are you going to try to come to Minneapolis next July?
I do not know at this point,
Okay.
because I know we just kind of shifted that.
Yes. Okay. So
That's going to have to be a kind of discussion with the fam and everything.
So here's my next question, which you probably also don't have an answer for yet. But
I could perform if I'm there.
Yeah.
Need it if needed. I can get up there and
Yeah.
sing. You might not want to hear that,
Yeah.
but
And
I
just delete this one. Although maybe what we'll do, I don't know. What we'll maybe we'll copy this sheet before I delete it. Or copy, and we can just redo this for 2026. There's the copy sheet thing. T'Challa. What the hell are you barking at, dude? He was out with her. Oh, I didn't copy it. I just made a new one. I don't know why. Oh, why was I not able to right click and
you got to do it from a file.
I don't know why. No, I think I was left clicking instead of right clicking.
Well, no, you want to create an entire new spreadsheet?
No, I just
Oh.
yeah, no. I wanted to make a copy of this. That's what I wanted to do. And then I wanted to change this to 2026. And that way we could keep the possible performer thing and oh, that changes it for the whole thing. Ugh.
Yeah, to do what you're wanting to do, you need to create. If you want to have a separate list for 2026, you'd have to